This is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin from Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Barb Gulin provides her clients and prospects the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful strategies to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now here is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin.
Retirement Podcast. I'm your host, Barb Gulin, and with me today is my co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, Barbara. Great to be here with you. I'm excited about today's show. You always bring interesting topics, and I've had a great week. We just had a long weekend, and that was fun. We're empty nesters now.
So for
the first time in a couple of months, we actually had all three of our kids and us, and actually four of our kids, my son's wife as well, home for a dinner on Sunday. All of us sitting around the same table, just the immediate family.
Fun.
Yeah, it was really nice. So all six of us were here all at the same time, all just hanging out, talking. It was great.
Now, see, I had just the opposite. All my kids were out of town this weekend. So I got to do whatever I wanted.
Which is also nice, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. To go down to the farmer's market and to only buy what I want or go look at the stuff I wanted to look at was like priceless.
Yeah, that's priceless. It is. Good point. Good point. Yeah. So, Barbara, what are we talking about on the show today?
We are going to talk about a little bit of a sensitive subject, but something that a lot of people deal with. And that's when your significant other isn't on the same page financially as you are.
Which is pretty much all the time for most couples.
It can be. It can be. Let's go back a couple of podcasts to our whole financial spirit animal quiz. Okay. Sure. There is the eagle, and the eagles usually do everything lockstep together.
Sure.
Okay. Out of all of the married couples that I know, I can think of one couple maybe that are truly eagles, and that's my sister and her husband. More often than not, somebody's a saver, somebody's a spender, somebody thinks the money ought to go this direction, somebody thinks the money ought to go that direction. Somebody's really meticulous about watching the bank balance. The other one figures if there's card is still swiping, that there's obviously money in the account somewhere. I used to say if you still had checks in the checkbook, there was still money, but so many people don't really write checks anymore that there's people out there shaking their head at this very moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't say if you still have checks, you still have money anymore because people don't use checks anymore. No. My kids, they wouldn't know how to write a check if they had to. So, it's all about either apps on the phone. In fact, it's more and more the phone, even less the card now. They tap the phone. They use Apple Pay or whatever phone payment they have. They put their bank check card in there, and that's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, but it's something that I see coming through quite a bit. We do have clients where they actually keep their finances separate because they disagree on stuff. But I think that from a relationship standpoint, sometimes people laugh when I tell them that I'm part psychiatrist in my job. Or part psychologist, maybe.
Sure. Marriage counselor. Couples. Yeah. I should say couples counselor for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's people don't realize the psychological aspects that there are to money. Yeah. And that many of us form our habits and our relationships with money by things that we saw or experienced when we were really too young to be able to articulate it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And aren't the stats overwhelming that the majority of divorces are caused by financial issues and
money
stress?
Is usually a starting point for a lot of relationship tension.
Yeah.
A lot of times what we find is finances end up being that pivotal place where there starts to be tension in a relationship, because that's usually the most immediate place where something comes up. I mean, if you've got to pay a bill and the bank account is overdrawn, you really can't avoid that. And again, going back to those, financial spirit animals, the personalities, the way we relate to money, what we found is that if people can get it together in that place, that they really end up having a much better relationship overall. Yep. But it can be kind of painful working through and getting to that place where you're in agreement on stuff.
Yeah. And I think one way that my wife and I, the key is to be open and to frequently discuss it. So if you're sitting down at least once a month and looking at your finances, and both of you are looking at the bank accounts and the credit card statements, and you're going over what's being spent and budgeting for the next month, then you're all on the same page. Everybody feels good. It's going to remove that stress from your relationship. Right.
And more often than not, it's the saver who's getting freaked out at what the spender is doing.
Yeah, there you go. And that's true. Like you say, so your point here is that in a relationship, a lot of times one's the saver, one's the spender.
Yep,
and that's
opposites
tough.
attract.
Yeah.
Opposites attract. But, something when you're in a situation like that where you've got that inequality in philosophy, okay? Right. More often than not, the spender feels like the saver is trying to control them. The saver feels like the spender doesn't care or isn't thinking long term.
Right.
So, something to consider is that maybe you need multiple bank accounts. Okay?
That's a possibility, right? So that might help.
I think that sometimes the best way to compromise until you guys can function together and maybe forever is you have a joint bank account that each person agrees to put a specific amount of money into. After you've worked through your spending planning, you know what it costs for rent or mortgage, car payments, car insurance, all of those fixed expenses.
Right.
And even some of the grocery allowance goes into that joint account so that you know that the obligations are covered all in that one place. Okay?
That's great. Yeah. That's helpful.
And then each person has their own individual bank account with their name on it. Okay? Now, I suggest that the significant other still have access to that bank account or have the password. At minimum, if they're married, make that other person a transfer on death so that if something happens, that the other person can access those funds. And this is where those durable powers of attorney come into play as well. When we're dealing with, where you've only got one name on a bank account. Like when I got married, I had a bank account that I had opened when I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't add my husband to that bank account, but it was set up so that if anything happened to me, he was the beneficiary of that bank account.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. So yeah, that makes sense.
And we had a durable power of attorney in place that should I have become incapacitated and he needed to access that bank account, he could take that power of attorney to the bank and they would give him the information he needed. Okay.
Good to know. And that's a good thing to do regardless.
Everybody listening to this podcast, regardless of your age, if you are over 18 years old, you need to have those durable powers of attorney put in place so that if something happens to you, somebody that you trust can manage your finances or make healthcare decisions for you. I don't know if I can't remember if we've done a podcast on that yet or not. I think we have.
Yeah, we've talked about it at least in past podcasts.
Yeah, but, go back and revisit that. It is one of the most important documents that you will ever have. That way, if you guys can come to an agreement where you say, okay, you're going to get X number of dollars every paycheck, that's going to go into your personal bank account. That's your spending money. That's your mad money. You can do whatever you want with money.
Sure.
Within the bounds of whatever you've agreed to. I am not condoning anything illegal or immoral here, folks. But that, that gives the spender the freedom to know that they've got access to some money that they can do whatever they want with.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah. I think that's important.
But, especially for you couples out there that aren't married yet, but maybe you're cohabitating and you're practicing what it looks like to join finances. Be careful about it.
Sure.
Be smart about it. Have the hard conversations about it before you get all moony-faced and go to the bank and open up the joint bank account together because you're in love.
Oh, okay? Yeah. Yeah, you want to do what's going to work best long-term and be best for your relationship rather than thinking, well, that would be a joint account. Not necessarily.
Right. And you've got to be smart about it. I also encourage couples to each have a credit card that is in their name only.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Yeah.
Just because if something happens to the other person, you don't want all of your credit to be joint credit.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing. We all come into a relationship with our own set of life experiences. Some people call it baggage. I'll call it life experiences that affect how we look at money, how we think about money, and the role that money plays in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
Okay. For somebody who grew up where there wasn't enough, there's a paradigm of scarcity can do crazy things to people that they don't even realize they're doing. They're either hoarding the money to save it for a rainy day and go beyond being a saver into somebody who's irrational about stuff.
Pinching every penny.
Right. Or you have somebody who has never seen that amount of money before and they aren't disciplined and they end up getting themselves into trouble with it.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully you strike a balance somewhere in the middle. And, if one of the hardest things for couples to talk about is money.
Yep.
But if they can figure out how to get it together and get on the same page with money, and give each other the space that they need to have some freedom with money.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with coming to that common ground. And, it's funny. Money is one of the last subjects that is so taboo to talk about.
Yeah.
That it's crazy. And even in our own office, we work with so many federal employees. For federal employees, your salary is a matter of public record. I mean, if you know what grade and step level somebody is, you can go out online and find out how much they make every year.
Yeah.
And like I tell all of my federal employees, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And
true.
Sometimes when you've
said that a lot, and you say that on the shows, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Right.
Right. In other words, minimize that tax burden. Right.
Right. And, sometimes for a couple that is having trouble figuring out stuff financially, they might not need a marriage counselor. You might need somebody like a fiduciary, a financial planner, to help sit down and help them craft a plan or come up with some ideas so that everybody understands that they're on the same page. Sometimes the spender, who is usually like a butterfly for their financial spirit animal or a turtle, forgets to think long term and that someday they eventually want to retire.
Yeah.
Okay, we have talked about my shoe habit on other podcasts.
When you talked about how one person's a spender, I wanted to immediately bring up your shoe habit. And I don't know, if people who are watching this rather than just listening can see my part of just a small, tiny sliver of my record collection behind me. And so I have a problem with buying records and collecting records. You have a problem with shoes. A lot of people have their areas of weakness, right?
I would never call it a problem. I would call it a dedicated passion. Thank you very much.
Dedicated passion. That's what. Thank you for that. Next time my wife gives me a hard time about how many records I buy or how much I spend, it's a dedicated passion. I'm not a hoarder, and it's not a problem.
And it's something that brings you joy. Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
but never have you ever bought a record in lieu of making your house payment or paying your electric bill, if I had to guess. Let's go with the last 15 years. Okay.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I haven't done that.
Once you got out of college.
I haven't done that. I haven't done that.
So, it's, you've got the phrase, you watch the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Right. So for me, first of all, more often than not, I wait for stuff to go on sale when I buy my shoes, or I wait for a coupon. Now, there is a pair I have had my eyes on for the last few months that I have not seen go on sale that I might have to. But it's hard for me to pay full price. Okay.
That's good.
I'll be honest.
That's good. You're a coupon clipper. You watch for the sales. That's good.
I do. I even grocery shop and meal plan by what's on sale. So
my wife and I do that all the time. Yeah, we do that for sure. Groceries have gotten so expensive. That's really when we started during COVID, we started to meal plan around, number one, what's available. Number two, what hasn't gone up in 2022, what didn't go up.
No kidding.
What didn't triple in price, right?
No kidding. And that's why I'm so great. I have a client that raises beef cattle.
Oh, yeah.
So every year or two, I buy a quarter of
beef.
A cow. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's good.
And that's the most economical way for me to do it. My only deal is that they can't tell me the name of the cow that I'm getting. So.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
I can't handle that part of it.
Yeah. My wife is like, she avoids beef now because she loves cows so much. And the more you learn about them, it's just like, oh no.
I know.
Definitely don't name them if you're going to eventually eat them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's the mistake. So
but I'm sorry, your girl likes a good ribeye every now and then.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. But the bottom line here is you definitely need to make sure that you know which one you are in the relationship, and people know. I don't think there's people out there that are in so much denial. They don't look at themselves and say, okay, I spend a lot more than my spouse. And I'm the one that has hobbies that cost the most, right? Or, if you're golfing every day and paying for golf fees every day and your wife's out there pinching pennies or vice versa, it's so you have to be self-aware, I think, is helpful, and it's going to help your relationship. It's going to help your finances. But also, Barbara, doesn't it help like you alluded to it at the beginning of the show by saying you act as a financial marriage counselor. It does help couples to work with a financial advisor. That's one big solution to get your finances under control and not let it cause tension in a relationship.
Right. They're a neutral party who is just looking at the numbers and spelling everything out. I spend a decent amount of my time talking to people, especially younger people, about how to put together a spending plan, how to help them have that freedom as well, but working within the boundaries of that spending plan and understanding that, if money is short one particular month, that these are the categories in that spending plan where we can trim a little bit, and these are the non-negotiable categories, and helping them map out the best way to learn how to work together. How many times have you and I talked about how they don't really teach good financial awareness in high school or in college?
Right.
And that they aren't teaching anybody money habits.
No.
And unless you've got parents that are intentionally sitting down with you when you're in those formative years and teaching you how to save, teaching you how to put together that spending plan, buying the piggy banks that have the 5 different slots in it for saving and spending
Sure.
and all of the other things, if you haven't grown up with that, it's kind of like taking you to a swimming pool if you've never been there, dropping you in and saying, now swim.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You're going to have problems. So you need to give yourself permission to make mistakes. For you couples out there that are listening to this and realize that you need to put that spending plan together and start working together so that you're moving in the same direction, I got news for you guys. It's going to take you 6 to 12 months to perfect this spending plan, because you need to go through the holidays. You need to go through an unexpected repair. You need to go through some of life's ups and downs to learn how to set aside that money for a rainy day. There is a well-known money broadcaster out there who tells you that the first thing you need to do is save $1,000. I tend to agree with that. I don't agree with a lot of the other things that particular person says, but that, if you don't have any savings or a nest egg right now, is a really good place to start.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And then the ideal thing is to have 3 to 6 months worth of salary in an emergency fund. I mean, that's
right.
That's a pretty traditional thing, but I like that, to make it doable. If you have nothing saved, you start somewhere, save up 1,000, and then get to a point where you can put a certain amount away each month.
Yeah. But that way, if you have a $300 car repair,
right,
you're not running to a credit card. You've got something to pull it from.
Yeah.
So that, it kind of eases out the bumps in the road a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, if you find that you can't talk to your partner about money, then there's a whole lot of thinking that comes with that. And, having the difficult conversations before the difficult situation makes that difficult situation not so difficult, because you've got that game plan in place. It's like living in the Midwest. Everybody knows where they're going to go when there's a tornado. Now, by God's grace, you're smart enough that it's not, I'm going to go stand on the front porch and watch it happen.
Yeah. Although I have known people.
Yeah.
We heard one's coming. We were out on the deck waiting for it. It's like, don't stand on a deck. Yeah. No, we in the Midwest know to head to the basement, stand in the doorway. Yeah, those types of things. Yeah.
So if you can prepare yourself as much financially and, watch. If you are dating somebody and considering whether or not it's a long-term relationship and their spending habits are bugging you now, newsflash, they're not going to change.
Right.
People tell you who they are. You just have to decide whether or not you're going to listen to it in any given moment.
True. This is very true. Well, for our listeners out there, before we wrap it up today, Barbara, why don't you let them know how they can get a hold of you? And I know you like to meet with both parties. If you're a couple, you both come in, and getting this conversation started is the key. How can they get a hold of you to do that?
They can go to our website. You can reach it through anchoryourretirement.com, and that will take you to our website. Or you can always call our office at area code 913-553-6222. Ask for the appointments and scheduling, or select that option. It is an automatic attendant. Sorry, I like a human voice as much as you guys do, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do for the sake of being able to take care of your clients.
Yes.
That way, somebody from our scheduling team will reach out to you and connect you with a fiduciary that can help you start the process, do course corrections if you've already got something going but you don't feel like it's working for you, give you a complimentary second opinion on any plan that you may already have in place, or help you guys lay the groundwork to create that successful retirement, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And what's that phone number one more time?
One more time. It's area code 913-553-6222.
All right. Well, great show today, Barbara.
Yes.
It was a fantastic show. I want to encourage our listeners to give you a call, and I know we'll have another great topic next week.
We will. And in the meantime, if you don't know what your financial spirit animal is, you can go back and listen to that podcast, or we should have a link somewhere in the notes that will connect them to that, where they can get a copy of that quiz and find out where they are.
Yeah. And speaking of that, before we go, give the website address for our listeners out there.
That would be anchoryourretirement.com.
All right. Again, that's anchoryourretirement.com. And listeners, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barbara Gulin.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to Anchor Your Retirement. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound retirement plan. For more information, please contact Barb Gulin at Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. Call 913-553-6222 or visit them online at anchoryourretirement.com.
Advisory services are offered through Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.